Hello, people of AdventureX! Welcome to the final feature of AdventureX, where one very tired person talks to four other very tired people. Welcome to the Adventurers Tavern. I am the, innkeeper. I haven't really planned this. And these are my guests, and they are going to be competing for the title of the absolute worst. Which one of these people is the worst, we will know in roughly 45 minutes. But who are they? You probably already know, but I've got them in the slides, and I'm going to introduce them, not in the order they're sitting, but in the order that they are in the slideshow, okay? And that's fine. First, it's Sam Béart. Hello, Sam. You might know Sam as Thomasina Bateman from Hobbs Barrow. Or indeed as a character called Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, the internet's reaction to that character has been, I would say, extremely normal.
Yep. Totally normal, nothing to see here.
Great, well, let's move on. How has that been for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Next!
I mean, last year I was
sorry,
here.
Back to Sam.
Last year I was here. And I wore this, and no one knew who I was. And this year I wore this, and they know who I am. So that's...
So these people, the plebs...
I mean, they don't know who this is still, but they know
ignorant fools. You didn't recognize genius last year. You don't deserve to recognize it this year. Shame on you. I knew Sam before she was cool.
Far too kind.
Can I correct the pronouns there? They were cool. I'm sorry.
It's either or.
Is it either?
Even both.
Both.
In the same sentence.
I knew Sam before they were cool. And in the edit, that's going to look completely seamless. Next. Giles, get me out of this awkward situation I created for myself.
I refuse.
Giles Armstrong, narrative director. I believe you are the lead writer on Horizon Forbidden West. Is that correct?
Absolutely not. No. It's all right. It's okay.
You are Giles Armstrong.
I am, sadly.
What is your involvement in the Horizon?
So in that particular game, I was a senior writer.
A senior writer.
Yes.
Which is very. That's good.
Thanks, man.
That's great for you. Well done.
I'm not getting out of the awkwardness, am I? I'm sorry.
No, you're making it worse.
He's going to win the worst.
So far, I think Giles is the worst, but there are going to be sections. I think if you haven't played, Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn.
That's correct.
Which, from my point of view, they were really the first games to ask the question, what if a ginger person got on a robot? And so, thank you for your efforts.
Happy to oblige.
Did you feel seen?
Finally. I'm always climbing on robots. If you're going to laugh, do it all at the same time, because it's confusing. Chella Ramanan, hello. Returning.
Hello.
Keynote speaker, Chella Ramanan, co-founder of POC in Play, and you were selected for the BAFTA breakthrough thing, which is very impressive. Yeah, sorry. But to place it in context, we have to remember that they did give 3 BAFTAs to David Cage for Heavy Rain. So they're not right about everything.
Can I just say, I was on the judging panel for one of those, so point to me.
Welcome.
That really is the worst.
And, speaking of the worst, now, unfortunately, Pushing Up Roses, the YouTuber, is not able to be with us as we hoped, but, also unfortunately, Richard Cobbett is.
Can I just say that normally I might take offense at that, but today, Ginger Jesus, I forgive you.
Thank you. I don't think it said anywhere in the notes that you were allowed to make fun of me, but let's go.
We have altered the notes. Pray we do not alter them further.
Now, can anyone remember what question 1 was supposed to be? Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. Don't think you're getting out of being the worst by helping. Now, I want to talk about all the types of things that could be the absolute worst. So let's talk about the absolute worst game. But I want to know, what is the absolute worst game that you love? So I'm going to come to you, since you're so smart and remembered the order of the questions, Giles, I'm going to come to you. What is the absolute worst game that you love?
All right, well, first thing that springs to mind is Tenchu Stealth Assassins, the PS1 classic from 1998.
Some woos, some gasps.
I absolutely adore it. It came out a few months before Metal Gear Solid, which means it was the first major stealth game on the PS1. Thank you very much. And you could completely game it with the poisoned rice ball. Basically, stand on a roof, throw the poisoned rice ball. It doesn't matter if your enemy is a ninja, is a demon, is a dog. They will chase that rice ball. They will go for it. The game is wicked. It's got one of the best soundtracks in all of gaming. Why it's so terrible as well, the American and European release have got horrendous voice acting. Really horrendous. Like quite offensive by modern standards. And so that is my pick.
That is a fantastic answer, as I think the scathing woos indicated. Chella, can you get more scathing? Can you get more scathing woos out of the audience? What is the worst game that you love?
Dead or Alive beach volleyball.
They seem more scathing. I'm sorry, Giles.
That was quite a scathing applause.
Now, you'll have to excuse my ignorance. I'm not familiar with the Dead or Alive beach. Are you sure that is one game?
It is indeed. So it's all the women from the Dead or Alive games, but in bikinis on the beach playing volleyball, because Dead or Alive was known for its physics. So add volleyball, and it's a teenage boy's dream. So.
And are you the teenage boy in
this
scenario?
So. Yes, I am. Yeah. So this is like. So why is it good? So it's good because there's actually beneath the.
Shirt.
Yeah. Beneath the shirt of Dead or Alive beach volleyball. So beneath the sort of like bobbing breasts on the beach, and okay, so the worst.
Some fans in.
I'm turning people around. Yeah.
I think some people have already downloaded it to their laptop.
Yeah. It's gone very quiet. Okay, so everything is bad about the sort of the scenario of this game, because as one of the male characters, it's also the black character, has all the women trapped on this beach resort. Yeah.
Can I remind you that you're in the what's good about it section?
No, I've switched. Okay, so the scenario is they're trapped on this resort, and they're playing volleyball, and you kind of woo each other, so you give gifts and things. So it could be nice, but when you successfully woo someone by giving her the sort of food she likes or the kind of style of bikinis she likes, you get a cut scene, which was, this classic thing of the Dead or Alive games is, when you win, you get the cool cut scene. So you get this character scene, and it's basically just like a lesbian date, but it's like the male gaze is just like off the charts in these games. So it's just like sort of pure titillation. But underneath all of that, there's actually a decent volleyball game.
A spectacular answer. And full respect to you for not laughing at the word titillation. Well done. Sam, what is the worst game that you love?
A problematic fave, Carmageddon. Yes! Do you know it?
I do remember Carpocalypse Now. Was that the name of the sequel?
No idea.
I don't know why I didn't direct that question to you, Richard.
So for the three of you that don't know, it's what every parent thought GTA was. This is less sophisticated. You drive around and you get points for murdering people in your car. You get points for murdering animals in your car. And when it kind of got banned, they retconned a plot. And the plot was zombie apocalypse, they're evil zombies, and they bled green. So the really nice upside to this is I learned to program so I could get the blood back into the game. That's what I was there for. I'll never forget sort of cow's eyes, sort of wide-eyed in terror as I mow them over with the car. And
again, in the game. In the game, Carmageddon. That's a terrific answer.
I confirm or deny nothing.
Now, I'm nervous because the next person I'm going to ask this question to is Richard Cobbett, who has played every game.
All right, well, I'm not going to go for a problematic fave, because one thing I used to do for PC Gamer was a series called Crapshoot, which is sort of playing some of the weirdest, most obscure games in the world. And one of the things I loved about that is because you find things which so few other people have ever seen. And one of my favorite things, like Mystery Science Theater sort of style, so bad it's good. And ironically, the game I was planning to bring in and talk about ended up being part of one of yesterday's talks. It was an FMV game called Conspiracies, which is basically Greek Tex Murphy. However, instead of being a Chandler-style detective, hobo detective is probably the closest. He lives in an apartment with one wall missing. The first puzzle in the game is to make a cup of tea, which you end up having to do by things like, raiding his fish tank for the water, and finding the one tea bag, which is at the bottom of a cupboard or something like that. Thank God I don't think he needs milk. But as you play through it, the best thing about it is the main character, because while the game is Greek, it's dubbed by various actors. Now, has anyone here played Contradiction? Right. Now, everyone knows how the best thing about Contradiction was the main character, Inspector Jenks, like this sort of crazy, detective who sort of seems to be from another planet. If you haven't played Conspiracies, you have seen nothing. And luckily, I could have brought in an entire montage. I was tempted to bring in an entire montage, but for the sake of brevity, which as you can tell I'm really good at, I left it down to one small clip.
Yeah, I pretended I didn't know what your answer was going to be, but I think I've got it queued up in the slides.
Okay, so hopefully we'll get a clip, and if not, I want a bonus point for sympathy.
It's been a long time, hasn't it, Nico?
I should have realized.
Let's forget about the past. My sister wasn't for you.
Choice option now.
Maybe we wouldn't have been happy together. And it's all your fault, you bastard! I'll kill you!
Now, Richard.
Not only, like I said, is that 30 seconds out of what was originally a 5-minute supercut. The music you heard in the background, for some reason, is actually from Ultima 8. It's the Doc's music. Now, I'm not saying that they pinched it, but I'm not saying that.
Absolutely extraordinary. I just couldn't believe those men were Greek. I was so convinced by the dubbing. My next question is, I believe, Chella and Richard, you are both gamekeepers turned whatever it is gamekeepers turn into, because you both have written reviews. You've both been game journalists, and now you are on the other side. Reviews, as I'm sure many people in this room know, are horrible and are written by bad people. Now, I would like to ask you to share your worst reviews. However, it wouldn't be fair to do that without sharing a bad review of my own. So I have here on the screen, I think, his face creeps me out. I think it's the eyes. Which is ridiculous because it's the eyebrows. It's nothing to do with the eyes. So, I'll swing right back round to Giles. Giles, what's your worst review?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you found the comment I left. Honestly, just about any Steam reviews on anything I've worked on, because it's always very mixed, let's say. My favorite one is, I love the characters, terrible story though. Because, you know, the characters in the story are quite one and the same.
Related.
You know? By the way, the game that you mentioned, that looks like the Room of games. That looks fantastic. But I also used to write reviews. I used to review for Pocket Gamer. And I know the worst review that I've given, I had to phrase it as a letter to the dev to say, please finish the game before releasing it. And I felt terrible about it. But, you know, I wanted to be constructive, wanted to be nice. But yeah, as for me, no, I get very mixed reviews because all the projects I work on, I'm not the final decision maker. And so my version of the story is always a bit different to the finished article. But yeah, I'll leave it.
I mean, it's a brilliant answer, but I'm quite obviously not listening.
After storming this.
The worst.
All right, I'm going to be slideless as I move slickly on. Chella, what is your worst review?
So I don't have a ton of games that I've made. I have...
It could be the worst review you've written. Have you ever written a review of a game you didn't really play?
No.
Just...
Wow.
Oh, so you mean all the people who hate my stuff have actually played it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, yeah, that would be rude. To not only not play it and then write a bad review, but Before I Forget had a 1-star review on Steam, because like who hasn't had? And so in Before I Forget, we have the character of Dylan, who's represented by music, and he's based on Glenn Gould, who was famous for playing Bach. And so this character of Dylan was famous for his piano performances of Bach, but he also became a composer. So the music in the game that represents him is his composed pieces. But this guy was really annoyed, and he wrote something along the lines of, it's like, yeah, so this guy is supposed to be like amazing at his performances of Bach. There's not one single Bach piece in the whole game, 1 star.
How many of us have been given a bad review for letting Bach down?
I know, right?
Incredible. Now, Sam, you're an actor, and actors tend to be sort of weak-minded.
Yes, where am I?
Hypersensitive.
Here is it.
So
the president.
If it's not too painful, would you like to share a bad review?
Yeah, I'd love to, but it's in a different area of entertainment.
Ooh, yeah.
I haven't seen a bad review for a performance I've done in games, which is very privileged. But okay, here's my favourite bad review ever, because they were wrong. I was in a play called Silence by Maura Buffini, and I played Silence, and if that's not obvious, that's the main role. And there's 6 of us in the play, and the reviewer mentioned literally everyone but Silence or me. The end.
So, I mean, it's not a competition to see whose story is saddest. So
Literally said the rest are fine. All the games reviews have been fine.
I've
had to go to another genre.
Okay, just Google Baldur's Gate 3. Everyone loves it. Richard, it can be the worst review you've written, the worst review you've received. What's your worst review?
I think I'll do the second one, because I think it's only fair. Because obviously when you review games, you can't really then sort of switch to making things and like expecting people to be nice to you when you've had a career of like knowing that somebody has opened up the magazine like sort of full of expectation and promise, and we'll see an opening like, oh, I don't know, drinking sick, chewing glass, crawling naked across a field of rusty needles. Oh, hi there. You've just joined us in the middle of our weekly game of things we'd rather do than play Blood Wretch 4. So, like I said, I'm going to sort of do one which we had for one of the games which I watched. I won't say the game because it wasn't like one which I was in charge of, so it'd be unfair, but it was a YouTube review, which is one of my favorite things ever. It sort of cut onto this guy, and he was just staring at the screen, glowering, eyes narrowed, glowering, slowly, over the course of several seconds, leans forward, face full in the middle of his webcam. He says, "Never, ever, ever make me play this again." I was quite proud of that one.
And so you should be, Richard. Well done. Fantastic. Now, looking out at this room, we know that this room and games in general are full of optimistic, naive people. People who want to make games, whereas the industry more broadly is full of incompetence and psychopaths. So, let's hear it. Psychopaths in. Whoa! Yeah. My question is, all these people are probably making games and keen to make games. There's too many of them. My Steam library is full. How can we get them to stop? What is the worst piece of advice that you could give somebody who wants to make a game? Or have you received, if you prefer? Giles, what's your worst piece of advice?
The worst piece of advice for anybody looking to work in the games industry is find someone who's made a game that you love and tell them how you'd make it better. And tell them on Twitter and at them. And if you apply to work at that studio, make sure it's part of your cover letter. And just say, this one thing in your game was terrible, and if you hire me, I will solve all of your problems forever. It will get you the job. It will. Yeah.
Stupendous advice. Thank you.
And it's also something that I have seen many times happen. Yeah, don't be that person, my goodness.
I think some people are nodding and I think confessing to doing that at this moment. Chella, what would your worst bit of advice be?
Make 2 games at once. It's like a fast track to a long, sustainable career in games. You won't be tired at all.
Point of order, didn't you, in your keynote speech, admit to doing something along those lines?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the record show that Chella is admitting it.
I'm an unreliable narrator, what can I say?
Of course, we all know the solution is to make 3 games at the same time, right?
Yeah. It makes it better. Just add another game.
Add another game. It's got to be an odd number. That's the secret. Sam, what would your worst piece of advice be? The worst piece of advice you could give, or the worst piece of advice you've received? Could be anything.
I could do the satire thing. I don't think we've got time, so I'll just...
Do we have any?
Do you like a
energy
bit
for
of satire?
Little bit of Sunday satire.
So,
Do some Sunday afternoon Radio 4 style satire for us, please.
So, you want to be a voice actor? Wonderful. Welcome to Endless Cash and Easy Times. So quit your job. You're going to make all your money from this. Do not train. They will ruin you. Actually, spend all the training money on a top-notch studio and just chuck all your money in the bin there. Don't feel you need to set a rate. What you do is just don't charge till someone decides one day that they actually want to pay. Also, you'll be undercutting everyone else, so you'll get all those lovely jobs for yourself. Yeah, great, fantastic. Oh, you do impressions too, wonderful. Oh, people who are living and actually make... Yeah, that's great. No, you're fine. Don't worry about the acting. It's funny voices. You'll be grand. Satire. And I just have a bonus as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny
Very
voices
quick.
when I do it, but yes,
Funny
you
voices,
can have 2.
only funny voices. Actually, the worst piece of advice in games has been the only bad piece of advice I've had, which was the other day from a mocap engineer who said to register my voice with an AI company because he's an expert, it's passive income. And he didn't back down until I got about 3 people to get involved in the fight that ensued.
So, Richard, apart from when I said you should be on this panel, what is the worst bit of advice you've given, received, or could give?
Download Nelly Coutalot.
What? We're right here.
It wouldn't be funny otherwise.
Do people know that I made that a game? I made a game.
Do people know I'm in it?
It's called Nelly Coutalot. It's fine.
It was literally fine on the Steam reviews. 50%.
Yeah, Steam thinks it's fine. It's slightly better than you would think. What are it?
It's exposure, it's fine. No, I was going to do one. If you want to get into the games industry, like whatever you do, it's very important to know that AI will do your job better than you can. Whether you're a writer, a designer, a poxy voice actor or actress, like AI is there. But you know what AI can't replace? The janitor. Get a job as a janitor and you will never, have any problems with robots coming because your job will just be seen as too mundane to waste their time on.
I think we might have had a heckle there. Bearing in mind you can see how I'm holding this mic, you can't possibly imagine that anybody will be able to hear what you're saying in this room. I'm going to move on to my 4th and penultimate question, which is, I don't know, I would like to try and get a confession out of the panel. I'd like to know what your worst mistake is, but ideally I'd like to know the worst mistake that you got away with. If it is an ongoing crisis, keep it to yourself. But I'd love to know what scams you've been pulling in your career.
Have we got any volunteers while I think of something?
You know this industry runs on NDAs, don't you?
If you're not going to answer this question, we can move on to the final question. Are you all going to... They are all the worst. Is not one of you going to admit to ever erring in the path?
We've unionized on this question.
Don't side with them! Well, the tables have turned. Do you actually have a...
Honestly, the only worst mistake I've ever gotten away with is thinking that there's job security in the games industry. It's been a shocking year, really, hasn't it? Let's face it.
Yes. Yes, it has. If nobody else wants to go, I'll move on to the next question. Okay. My final question. Now, I asked this question last year when Chella was also on the panel, but I can't remember what you said, so I'm going to ask it again, and you'll probably say the same thing. It'll be fine. And this is important because it will involve the audience. It is now the year 2023, and apparently adventure games are not dead. This is unacceptable. We need to kill adventure games, and we need to kill them now, this afternoon, in this room. How would you kill adventure games, Giles?
Turn it into a live service game. Because they're doing really well right now, right?
Like a genuine noise of pain from over there. Wow.
Why? Because, I mean, let's give it to a big corporation who wants to monetize and make all sorts of huge sums of money out of something that's meaningful. And like the thing that makes adventure games wonderful is that they are smaller, more personal enterprises versus the huge corporate annualized mega blockbusters. And I think that's for me, that's the way that give it to the people who run huge corporations, and they'll just make everything less exciting and less innovative.
I don't know if there are any millionaires who are responsible for these sorts of things. If so, get out. We don't need your money. Oh, no, we do. Briefly forgot for a second. They do need you. I mean, I don't make games anymore. I don't need them. Sorry, I fell asleep while talking there. Chella.
I think one better would be to hand it over to AI. For that reason that you state that adventure games are so human. So, give it to AI. There'll be sausage fingers and... can you imagine an AI puzzle? What that would be like?
Are there enough games featuring anime girls on Steam We just don't know if there are enough.
I mean, we could feed it dead or alive beach volleyball. That's part of the data set.
It'll be non-stop beach volleyballs with hands that never stop.
Yeah, and amazing physics.
That's a very convincing answer. Sam, how would you kill adventure games?
I mean, I was also going to say AI, because that's literally how you do it. But a procedurally generated AI at every level, no human involvement. Just let it run. Let's go full Skynet.
Let's get rid of the players, I say.
Yeah. Procedurally generated players.
Generated players.
Let them get on with it.
I mean, at least based on my experience, the players are the problem. with everything I've been involved in. So yeah, let's do it. Get out. Richard, you've played all of them. You've played every single one of them.
Right. Here's the problem. We can't kill them just by making bad games. There's been like 10 mists. It hasn't worked. We need to go for their...
You have gone too far.
I say we need to go for their soul. We need to basically poison the well so that no game afterwards can have any sort of degree of respectability or charm. Now, my suggestion is we start making really bad porn parodies of classic adventure games. And I would like to suggest, as a starter, The Secretions of Monkey Island, 5 Lays a Stranger, Sam and Max Hit Dat Ass, and this is just to see how many people get the reference, Pepper's Adventures in Tim. Now, the genius of this system is that while it may sound, half-hearted, what it will mean is that in future, even the most respected designers and the most respectable classic games will not be able to come out without everyone just finding it funny for no good reason. And I will now demonstrate that after just 30 seconds or so of this treatment, Roberta Williams' Colossal Cave.
Oh, that one took a while. We actually heard it reach that corner of the room. That's very odd. Well, I'm going to put it to the public vote. Do we think, I'm going to ask you to vote by way of applause, cheers, whoops, stamping, if you feel that you must. Do you... Sorry, that pause was when I tried to remember what Giles said. What was your one, Giles?
Oh, sorry. Turning them into live service games.
Do you think the best way to kill adventure games would be to turn them into live service games? Do you think it would be to create an AI version of Left 4 Dead beach volleyball? Do you think it would be essentially the same idea because we didn't confer beforehand? I'm sorry, weirdly more support for that, even though it was the same. And I don't know if I can bring myself to describe Richard's idea.
Poisoning the well, let's say.
Do you think it would be Richard Cobbett's Poisoned Well? It's no surprise to discover that Richard Cobbett is the absolute worst. Yay! Thank you. Now, essentially, what I was going to do now is a slide saying that I was going to open it up to audience questions, which is where the audience ask questions that are just a bit less good than the questions I asked. But I would like to keep this tight because it's very hot in here and we'd all like to go to the pub. But if there are any very pressing questions that you'd like to throw out to this, I've been slightly sarcastic, a wonderful panel of very nice people. I will gladly steal that microphone and whiz up to you with it. Does anybody have a question for our panel? Okay, I'm going to go to whoever is nearest.
Hi. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Hello.
No, it's Alasdair Beckett-King.
Oh, okay, my bad. So I was wondering, it's actually really been burning on my mind since the panel started. I was wondering what the worst experiences with somebody interviewing you during a panel. It's not a leading question, I hope. That wasn't my intention.
I mean, it feels pretty meta at this point, you know. You're living it with us.
I don't think the questions should be jokes. I veto this question unless you have another answer to give. Any more questions? We've got a hand.
Hello, everyone. I naturally have to ask this question because, for my money, there is only one adventure game series that actually matters, and I am desperately looking forward to particularly Richard Cobbett's answer, although I would be slightly interested in nodding off to the rest of you. Your opinion of Space Quest 2 in particular is one I'm very much looking forward to, and I will not accept I haven't played it for an answer. Thank you.
Can I say that you asked for my opinion specifically, and I'd say that Space Quest 2 is one of the most important games that I played back in the late 80s because it meant that I could take the floppy disks and pirate a better game onto them. and just for the record, this is purely because it's an ongoing fight I've had with trolls. Space Quest 2 is adequate.
I'm not sure we're going to get a more devastating reply than that. I'm not seeing any hands. That being the case, allow me to drop any semblance of irony and quite sincerely thank the panel. Please, a round of applause, please, for Giles, Chella, Sam and Richard. This has been the Adventurers Tavern. See you